Today we are going to go out and find the most beautiful dress and accessories, because we are getting ready to go to the ball, where we might have the joy to get acquainted to one of the nice little suitors that might be there. We might get their calling card, and in the future we might be able to give them some affection and finally marry them. That's right, we're going to take a look at the season. And this that I have here in front of me, it's just a prototype, so it's not the finished game, but it's a well-made prototype. And it will give you a great idea of how the game will look once it's done. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the game and how to play it. So let's just take a look at this. Each player now chooses a lady they would like to portray as. Some of these ladies are sisters, and it's a good thing that you note that down now, so you just keep a little track of that. Once you have chosen a lady, you take that lady and put it on your player board. The rest of the ladies goes back into the box. Now we need to remove these 4 suitors, which they are called, from the suitor deck. Prince Franz, Prince Carls, Thomas, and also Arthur. These 4 are set aside for now. Now we need to take the rest of the suitor card, shuffle them real good, and take an amount of cards depending on how many players you are. If this is a 2-player game, we should have 6 cards. 3 to 4 players, 8 cards, and 5 to 6 players, we should have 10 suitor cards. The remaining suitors are put back into the box. Now each of these gentlemen suitors here has their own calling card, and we should find each calling card corresponding to the suitor. Now on this card we can see some information. This information is what will help us in the future to find out if we can marry this suitor. But I will tell you more about that in a bit. We place these calling cards next to the table, and we should have as many calling cards per suitor as there are players. We place the game board in the center of the table for all players to easy reach, and also the go to town deck, face down and shuffled. Next we need to separate all the dress cards that has a value of 4 shillings and randomly give 1 dress card to each player. The rest of the dresses goes out on the board, and we need to fill up all the spaces and put the deck on the deck space. Next we also need to shuffle the accessory cards and hand out 1 of these cards at random to the player that has a dowry of 5. In this case, Diana. Again, we take the rest of the accessory cards and put them out on the board, and then we fill up the spots next to the deck. We need to shuffle the special event deck and put it next to the board. Each lady now also gets some pocket money, and how much money she gets depends on how much her dowry is. In this case, Diana here has a dowry of 5, which means that she gets 5 shilling. Each player also get a marker pen, a die, and an accomplishment sheet. Next we need to, at random, select 1 ball invitation and put it out on the upcoming ball space. We also need to take the turn tracker and place it on number 1 on the turn track. So your goal in this game is to get married, but not just. It's also about you getting a better reputation. The better reputation you have in the end of the game, the more scores you will get. And you will get reputation by doing special events, by going to the ball, by getting better accessories, dresses, also by getting acquainted to these little fellas here. And at the end of the game, whoever managed to get the most reputation will become the winner. Now, before we take a look at the different actions, let's take a look at your debutant, but also the suitors. So this here could be the debutant that you would portray as. Now, in the center we have a portrait of the debutant, and at the bottom we have the name. But we also have some strength. Now, this here can be used to your advantage throughout the game. Up here we have the dowry. This is the amount of pocket money you will get at the beginning of each quarter. This here is your family crest. This here will show you if you have any siblings active in the game. So this one here you would need to keep a track of to look at so you do not marry any of your siblings. Over here we have the favorite interest. Now, each lady will begin the game with +4 accomplishment points for her favorite interest. This should be noted down on her accomplishment note. As you can see here, we have books, music, horses, and dancing. And dancing was Ataea's favorite interest. So she starts the game with 4 on dancing. Then we have the suitors. Again, we have a name down here, but also a title. In this case, Lord Niccolo. Up here we have this suitor's family crest. Over here we have the marriage points. The debutante who marries this suitor will receive this many marriage points at the end of the game. Debutantes who this suitor proposes to will receive half of these points, rounded up. And over here we also have some dowry, but this time it is requirement. This requirement is often used to determine if debutees can be introduced to this suitor. But this is not the proposal requirements. And at the bottom we have interests of this young man. Debutantes may have opportunities to increase the affection points with each suitor if they cater to their interests. Now it's time for us to take a look at the actual gameplay. Each game is played out during 4 quarters, and each quarter is divided into 3 action phases and 1 ball phase. Once we have played through all of these 4 quarters, well, the game ends and it's time for us to count scores. During the action phases, this is where each player gets to do, well, their actions. And during the ball, well, we get to go to the ball and see whatever we're gonna do there. If we can go, because that is not certain, but we're gonna look at that in a little bit. Each of these 4 quarters starts with 3 small fast steps. The first one is to move this little tracker here 1 step forward on the turn track. The second step is that each lady will get money, and we will get the same amount of money that is according to our dowry. Now, the third and final step is to draw a new random ball invitation and place out on the upcoming ball space on the board. Once we have done this, we are ready to do some actions. But how and what can we do? During each of these action phases, each lady simultaneously can do up to 2 actions, but they can only do 1 action once per action phase. Now, the first action we're gonna look at is to go to town. When we go to town, we get this card, and we need to read the text up here. Now, depending on what it says, a lot of different things might happen. Down here you can see what type of accomplishment level increase you will get. In this case, +1 on the horse. Down here we have affection. This here increases a suitor's affection level. But if there is an interest next to the heart, this is multiplied by 2. If the suitor has this interest. The debutante can also choose to enhance one of their accomplishments of any kind of their choice. They will do this by simply rolling the die. Now, if they get 1 to 4, they can raise an accomplishment by 1. But if they get 5 or 6, they can raise it by 2. But you can also visit the Modest shop to purchase a dress or an accessory. Now, players are limited to 1 dress and 1 accessory per visit. If you want to buy any dress or accessory, you of course need to pay the price stated in the top right corner. If several players want to buy the same thing, priority is given to the players with the highest dowry, then to the ones that has the highest reputation points. If there's still a tie, well, then you need to roll a die and see who gets the highest number. The one who gets the highest number gets to choose first. When you have chosen a dress that you would like to buy, well, then you simply take that dress and then you restock the market. Instead of buying anything from the shop, you can also choose to restore the shop. This will cost you 2 shillings. But in that case, you get to remove all the dresses and accessories out on the board to the bottom of each pile. and then restock it. Or you can choose to order a custom dress. Now this will cost you 12 shillings, but in that case you get to look through the deck and pick a dress. The dress that you have chosen from this pile is then put to the side. Now the player may pick up the dress upon returning to the shop a second time. You can have one dress on yourself, under outfit, which just makes sense, right? It would be weird if you had two. In the closet you can stack and store as many dresses and accessories as you like to. When it comes to accessories, you can have two of those. Plus, you can only have one husband, which also makes sense. During some of these action rounds, we have this symbol here. This means that we have 50% off on dresses and accessories in the shop. If you don't feel like going to town, well then you can invite one of the fellow ladies over for some tea, or for a game of whist. If you choose to invite somebody over for tea and they accept the invitation, you will get 3 reputation, and the lady that you invite will get 1. But if you choose to play a game of whist, which is actually a real game that was really popular back in the days, well, you get to roll some die. But before you roll the die, you agree on a certain amount of shillings, for example 3, and put them to the side. Then you roll the die, and whoever gets the highest result is the winner and gets all of the gloriful money. But you can also choose to write a letter to one of the suitors. To do this, you need to be acquainted. And to be acquainted, you need to have one of these calling cards to the suitor you would like to write to. And depending on how high affection value you have, meaning how many hearts you have to this suitor, well, you will get different results when you roll a die. If you have less than 6 hearts, meaning less than suitor affection level 6, and you roll a 1, 2, 3, well, you will get no response. But if you roll higher than that, you will get 1 more affection point. But if your affection level is higher than 6, and you roll a 1, 2, 4, you will actually get 1 more affection. And if you roll 5 up to 6, you will get 2 more affection. And that was the last action you can choose to do. Now, each of these action phases ends with a special event. So we need to draw the top card from the special event. Now, these cards are, well, special events that you can choose to go to. Before we do the special event, you also have a little chance to get just the right combination of dress and accessories. Because depending on what you wear to this event, you might get some reputation points. Because these special events have a little symbol down in the bottom right corner. And this symbol can correspond to some of the dresses and some of the accessories. For every dress or accessory that matches this mark down here, you will get 1 reputation point. Once we have resolved this special event, well, it is discarded and that action phase is over. But then we also had the ball phases, remember? Now these are quite different from the action phases, because when we come to a ball phase, well, we can't do any actions, we can't do any events. And one player needs to flip this ball invitation over, put it face up and read it loud so all players know what's gonna happen at this ball, because all of these balls are quite different, so it might be pretty big difference from ball to ball. Now the players will get a chance to, well, get their little outfits correct before going to the ball. And if you do not have a dress, well, I'm sorry, but you're not going to the ball. So this here is the front side of the invitation to the ball. But on the back side, we have some instructions. At the top, we can see how many suitors that will attend to the ball. But also if some of the ones that we put to the side will come, remember? Down here we have introductions. This refers to which suitors you will be able to be introduced to during this ball. Here you need to have the right dowry requirements to be able to meet a suitor. When you are introduced to any suitors, you will get their calling card. This is the card where we keep track of the affection to that suitor, remember? But we can also see which type of interest they have. Down here we have the presentation of the ladies, or the debutantes as they're called. Here we get a chance to show up our dresses. If we have made any good accessories or managed to match the dresses right, we will get reputation. At the bottom we have the next step is dancing. Now we can dance with any suitors we have been introduced to. And here you will have a chance to raise the affection of the suitors that you choose to dance to. Plus you will receive 1 reputation for each suitor that you dance with. Later, after dancing, we have dinner. This is where the ladies get a chance to eat a dinner with the ones that they have affection to. One lady can only have dinner with 1 suitor, meaning that several deputies or ladies cannot eat with the same suitor. If several of the ladies want to have dinner with the same suitor, whoever have the highest affection points will eat with this man. If there still is a tie, well, the ladies can roll a die to see who gets the highest number. Whoever gets the highest number gets to have dinner with the suitor. Some of these balls also have a special event at the end. Here we simply read the instructions to see what we can receive, but also what we need to do to receive any extra reputation. So now we have done our little action rounds. We have been to the ball, we have danced, we have had a good time, and hopefully we have been acquainted to some of the suitors out there. But how do we actually marry them? Well, let's take a look at that. When all the hearts on a calling card from a suitor is filled up, they will automatically propose to you. If all of the hearts on the affection cards and the accomplishments match. Here, for example, Leonard has an interest on horses of the amount of 6. Well, we have 7, so that will match. On music, Leonard has an interest of 2. And we have 4, so we match that as well. But on books, we have 0. And Leonard likes to read, because he has 2. Meaning that we can't marry Leonard. Just yet, at least. Because if we get 2 on books, well then we can make this marriage happen. When you can and want to accept a proposal from a suitor, well, you place it in the husband spot on your player board. And you receive the marriage points from that quarter you are in. And remember that you will also receive the marriage point from that suitor, stated in the right side of the suitor's card. In this case here, we have 20 marriage points. If you get proposed to, well, you of course do not need to say yes. Or maybe you cannot say yes because, well, you just don't match yet. In that case, another lady might marry that suitor before you. But you will still get half of those marriage points. And you will keep track on this by writing down the points you will get at the bottom of your accomplishment card, where it says proposals. But just note that if you do reject any of these suitors, well, all of the affection points, meaning the hearts, will go away from that suitor. Now, you can still rebuild this relationship again, but you will have to start from 0. But if you finally marry the suitor that you once rejected, well, then you will get the full amount of marriage points, instead of just half. If you manage to marry a suitor that has the same interest as you will get 5 extra points at the end of the game. When a debutant have married a suitor, well, his calling card goes back into the box, because now he is taken, ladies. But any other calling cards that you still have, you can keep these, because, well, you can still keep on getting affection and trying to get more proposals from other suitors in the future to pump up your reputation and your final points. And again, remember to keep a track of the family crest signs, because you may not marry your brother, which just makes sense, right? And that is how you marry, which just makes sense, right? I mean, you need to have all the hearts filled out, you need to have the same interests, you need to accept the proposal. If you don't, well, somebody else might take them. And you can't marry your sibling, which also just makes sense. But the cool thing here is that if several siblings play as debutantes, meaning that your sister is in the game as well, and something happens to a family member, for example, if an aunt dies and she gives you 4 shillings, well then your sister will also get that amount of money, because you're sisters and you both get money from your dead relatives. And that, my friend, is how you play the season, which is just a nice little game. I mean, you sit here in your own little bubble, you try to make out the good outfits, you're trying to get the right accessories, you are trying to find a good suitor that you really want to marry, that also have the right interests, and that might seem a lot easier than it actually is. It is quite hard to get introduced to the one that you really want to be introduced to, that you actually have interest with, that you can get bonus points for, but also to be able to marry as soon as possible to get the most extra bonus points. It is quite hard, but it is a lot of fun, and there's no wars here, there's no blood, there's no warriors. It's just a good, sophisticated little time where you sit down to try to find a mate. Plus the game just flows on quite nice. I mean, most of the debutantes here, or the players, play out their faces simultaneously, so there's not a lot of waiting. I also like the little feature here with sisters and brothers. I mean, if your brother is at the same ball as you, they can actually, at free, present you to any of the suitors, which is just a nice little extra feature. We have the little go to town cards here that are almost like a little game in itself. I mean, you want to draw these cards because you want to read the text, you want to know what happens when your debutant is out on town to have a good time, to meet friends, or whatever happens. I mean, a lot of things can happen here. There's a lot of random stuff going on. We have the little shop here where you can build your own outfit, your own accessories. I quite enjoyed this game. And that, my friend, was this season. I would love to show you the box of the game, but as this was a prototype, well, I did not get the box, so I can't show you that one, but I'm sure it will look beautiful once it comes out. I think that this game was quite joyful, but I like the whole part where you kind of sit by yourself. There's not too much player interaction. I mean, there are player interaction, but mostly it's about you building up your little outfit here, building out your accessories, finding the right husband, going to town, every now and then inviting the other debutantes for tea or trying to beat them in a game of wit. It's just a nice little game. So be sure to check this out. There will be links down in the description where you can find out more. If you like this video, give me a comment, give me a thumbs up or whatever you want to. But most importantly, my friend, as usual, please remember to keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace out. Don't marry your sister or brother.